Well, welcome back to Random Rod Shop, folks. And as we left last time, I was working on the bed, and still working on the bed, but I thought for today's video, I need to get the heater in, and let me take the camera down. So, you guys been following along. You know, I put the air cleaner and then made a snorkel to actually draw fresh air from the vent area, the COWL vent area. Kind of like the, you know, somewhere in the early 70s, Corvette drew air in from the COWL. So, you know, we made a video, said COWL induction. So anyway, the heater set in that area there, and the heater drew fresh air in from that hole that I've got the air intake coming in for the engine. So take you back and let me show you the heater box. Okay, as you can tell, I've spent some time cleaning this up, kind of scraping around on the rust. I put some rust converter on it and just painted it. Heater core sets in here. Not sure how it happened, but it was either full of a lot of engine rust or it looked more like dirt daubers. So I don't know. Anyway, I think I got it all cleaned up. I think it doesn't leak, but we'll see. So the way this works, inlet air, if you will, comes in from here. The fan draws air through the heater core, and it blows it out right here. So that's what's inside the cab. What's outside the cab is this plastic box. And, you know, the firewall mounts up on there. The firewall's in between here. These connect to your heater hoses. And this upper section right here was what went over that rectangular hole where I've got the engine air intake. So I've been pondering how we're going to get air into this thing. And during my looking, you know, okay, there's a baffle inside this, and I'm like, well, that probably serves to transition from recirculating air from inside the cab to recirculating air from the outside. But as I chased this down and as I studied it, I discovered that from the factory, this heater didn't use any cabin air. It only drew air from the outside. When you turn your little slidey thing on the dash, it has off, heat, and defrost. When you turn it to heat, it opens that baffle. When you turn it to defrost, there's actually two cables on that lever. When you slide the slidey to the defrost, it actually moves this damper down and allows the fan to blow air through these top ports, which is your defrost. When you turn it back to heat, the damper closes here and air comes out the bottom. And that's an additional foot warmer, I guess, but the heater comes out the bottom here. So pretty simple device. I was just surprised that it didn't have a recirculating component. But what that means is that if you take away the inlet air from the top side, which that's what we did when we put that snorkel, that COWL snorkel on our engine intake. So now we're left with, we have to get air into here, but this isn't going to work. I originally thought that I would just come into the bottom of the snorkel, but the more I thought about that, I really didn't want to be sucking cabin air I didn't want to tie in the cabin air or the heater to the air intake. And primarily, it's really not when you have the problem in my mind wasn't when you have the heater on, it's when you have the heater off. And the engine would suck air from not only the COWL, but it would suck air from inside the cabin. So I don't know if that's good or bad, it just didn't feel right. So I think what I've come to the conclusion of, there is a vent right there. And this is the old heater. Actually, this is the heater box out of this truck. This thing is rusty. So the heater box that I showed you on the tailgate, that's the one out of my, my parts truck. Despite the fact that it didn't have many pieces on it, it's got a good heater box. Anyway, this is stuck in there so that I could sort of scope out, could I pull air? Let me get this in here. My thought is I will pull air, outside air, from here into this area right here. And let me go back to the other. So looking at moving back to the tailgate so we can look at the box we're working on. The area I'm talking about is right here. If we look inside, basically what I'm saying is maybe open up a port, a rectangular port along this area right here. Now, I don't think that's the most optimum. I would prefer, to get a full face flow, but at this point, I think that's the path I'm going to go down. So that means I need to make a plate to cover basically the hole that this thing was covering, and not interfere with my COWL. So this is the here's the good piece. Here's the one off the parts truck, and it was already busted all up, but I've kind of trimmed it up so it will actually fit over the area underneath our little air intake, and to give me some idea of what the piece needs to look like. So I've got a piece of 18 gauge here. It's just some old shelving. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to draw this out, drill holes. I'm going to leave it a little long up here just in case I didn't measure it right. So I'm going to cut this out, drill the holes, cut this out, and take it up there and see if we can plug that hole that's up there. Then we'll see if we can mount this thing in there and make sure everything's going to work. And then we'll come back and we'll cut the side of this out. I'm still thinking about, what that's going to look like. May have to tack weld a reinforcement box. I don't know yet. Still thinking about that. But while I'm doing this, I'll be thinking about that. So let me get this drawn out, and then we'll get it cut out, and we'll go from there. All right, let me go drill some holes in this right quick. All right, well, that took a few back and forth, but I think we have, let's see, it goes in there like that. So it'll go against the firewall and it'll fit on here. So let me get this painted, and we'll get it bolted on to the firewall, and then we're going to go see if we can stick this in. We're going to have to take it back out because we still got to get some air to this thing. Still not sure. I'm not 100% confident this is the right approach, but for right now, that's what I got. So that's where we're gonna go. Let me get this cleaned up and I'll get it painted. We'll get it on there. I'll show you. All right. Well, I thought I'd show it to you before I painted the thing. Because all the black you couldn't really see. But that's the panel. So it's all screwed on there. And now I need to put the heater box in there. Well, once again, things take a little longer than you think. So I don't remember if I actually showed you. This is the heater box out of this truck. So you can see it must have had a mouse house for a while, or a leaky heater core. Either way, that one's seen better days. So, and I studied this and I studied this. I killed a few trees making a few patterns, trying to think about this. To get fresh air into this heater box, you know, this bolts up next to the firewall. The only thing I come out with, I need to come out to the side, and this is what the vent looks like. All right, I don't know. Rounded corner rectangle, how about that? So that is about 4 inches. It's about 4 inches from the heater box. I don't know if you can see that. Let me get this around here. All right. So this vent is about 4 inches and lower than the heater box. So what I eventually come up with, I think that's about 2 1/4. Yeah, it's about 2 1/4 inches there. So I got about 1.5 inches before I need to get to this. What I ended up thinking was maybe I can make a flange for this, right? Something that's maybe 1 inch tall, and maybe bead roll it, like kind of like putting a hose on, right? You roll a little bead into the pipe so it can't slip off. And maybe, just maybe, I could stretch an inner tube around this and around this, and that would seal that up, allow me to get fresh air. I've still got to get a mechanism. I still got to have some way to move this valve, right? This is actually driver's side, but they look alike. So this is, I don't know if you can see that or not. All right, this is the vent in the truck. And my thinking was I could tie that to the heat switch on the little slider on the dash, and when you wanted heat, it would open that up and allow outside air to come in through the heater, which is the way the factory had it set up. And I originally thought make this round, but the issue is the heater core takes up most of this space, so I only have about 1 3/4 right here before it gets into the heater core. So I made it long, and I cut I don't know if you can see that, but I cut the end out, try to give enough open area. And my thinking was, push come to shove, I can make another flange that is identical to that, and just kind of weld that on here, and then the inner tube would just be between these two pieces. And keep in mind, I only need 1.5 inches, so we're not talking a lot of space. That's probably what I'm gonna end up doing, right? Just to make that transition easier. You have to have a removable transition, or you can't get this box out. And I don't know, in International's infinite wisdom, you have to pull the heater box out to get that fan out. That fan is shoved up next to the firewall. I've seen some interesting fan placements. You know, I had a Camaro where you had to pull the inner fender well out on the passenger side to get that heater motor out. But I don't know that I've ever seen one like that. I'm not sure how much more challenging it would have been to just put that heater motor on the front side. There's a lot of room under the dash. But that's neither here nor there, and they didn't ask me. So, I'm going to get this painted. I'm going to get it in there, and that's probably all we're going to get done today. If I come up with a elegant solution to, make this transition joint between here and there, I'll come back and I'll show you. But at this point, I'm pretty happy with just getting this made. I may regret in the end. I may have to round that off because your feet's down there. So I may have to actually round that corner. But right now, I'm just happy to bolt it in and just, get down the road, because at this point, we just need everything to fit. I don't really want to come back and take it apart, but if we do, it's okay. Because right now, I'm not sure we got all the parts. Throughout the week, I'm going to continue to weld on this bed. Hopefully, my goal is we don't actually do another video on this bed until maybe we're putting the wood in it. That might be interesting. So, well, you can see I got different clothes on. I had a little bit of time to come back to this, and let me show you what we got. So, I got the flange made to go on the vent. Still have to make a mating flange on this side of some way. Still not sure what the best solution is. So I'm still working on figuring out what this flange needs to look like. But that one, I was gonna bend it, right? I was gonna bend it and then use a shrinker stretcher, but and at the end of the day, I just cut a flat plate, cut the center out of it, and welded a flange on it. That seemed to work pretty well. Also, got some time to work on the bed. I can tell you, cutting the front of this bed out turned out to be a pain. But got the cross member in for the front. Still got to weld this one in. And I haven't welded in those chairs yet. The back one is got to be welded in, but at least it's bolted down. I thought I had enough steel to run this back cross member, but I'm gonna have to go find another piece of steel so I can run a cross member along the back here. I think I want it in there because I don't want that much space between the wood bed, the wood boards. A couple of things before I really do call this call this quits. I see a lot of people when they're drawing circles. I had to draw a circle on this to cut that out. I see a lot of people grab a piece of tape, grab a paint can. Hose clamps work really nice, right? You can adjust those hose clamps to give you the radius that you actually want. So I always use hose clamps. The last thing, when I pull this out, you guys, if you're familiar with the internationals, you know what I'm talking about. But the reality is that the old Chevy pickups do the same thing. So the cowl comes down and there's a shoulder on the side. Actually, this Camaro and this Mustang's got the same shoulder. Well, let's see. I know the Camaro's got, because I had to work on it. Camaro's got the same shoulder. And what happens is leaves and dirt goes through the vent, the cowl vent, and they just pile down at the bottom. And that's what usually rusts those things out. Anyway, I pulled this vent out of this International, and I had a pile of leaves and dirt and sticks and you name it down in there about this deep. So if you're working on an old truck, or actually, if you're just working on an old car, pull the vents out, clean those things out. Because I suspect they got stuff in them. All right. Well, I'm going to flip you back to the end of yesterday's video and close it out. Well, if you subscribed, I appreciate it. if you haven't subscribed, you know, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and, you know, hit the bell. All right. Well, I think that's it. I'm Random at Random Rod Shop, and I'm out of here.